What up? What up? Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. Today we will be discussing Keith Jesperson, aka Happy Face Killer, and Rex Heuerman, the Long Island serial killer suspect. Welcome, everybody. Good to see you. What's up, Julia? Brad, Donna Robinson. How's everybody doing? Jill? Good to see you, Donna. Chorizo. Yeah, can you believe that? What is it about these guys where they feel connected? You know, we had Gary Ridgway and Ted Bundy had some kind of weird connection. Is it that they're both just psychopaths and they know that the other person's going to understand? They've been living their entire life and they don't have to hide it anymore. Two people that no longer have to hide. Hey, let me reach out to this guy. He gets it. I've been hiding my entire life. You know, maybe it's refreshing to talk to somebody who understands. I mean, what could it possibly be? Very strange. What's up, Wanda? Shout out to Oklahoma. Shout out to the grandkids. Nice. Some Arizona stuff. I like it. Hey, speculation. Julia, definitely haven't heard or looked into this pen pal situation until today, so I'm interested to see what this is all about. Yeah, it's very interesting. I think the psychology about it is more interesting than anything. I think there were some talks of Koberger possibly corresponding with the bind, torture, kill Dennis Rader serial killer. I tried to find something on that, but there's nothing definitive. But what's up, CJK? She Warrior, good to see you. Happy Friday, by the way. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I am ready for Christmas. That's awesome, Wanda. Glad you're having a great time. What's up, Daisy? Sandra? Yeah, I had a great turkey day. Good to see you, D. So I think we're going to do like a brief overview. We'll do a quick one on Rex Heuerman. And then we'll take a close look at who Keith Jesperson is. Kind of the story about the happy face killer. And then we're going to see how they kind of intertwine. What's up, Willow? Sick minds, deviates connect. Well, recently Keith Jesperson has finally officially admitted to being responsible for a cold case. Everybody was pretty sure that he was the one that committed the crime, so we're going to look at that. But during that interview, he mentions corresponding with Rex Heuerman. So not only at the end of the live stream, we'll look at the actual letter, at least from Rex to Keith, but we'll kind of set the stage before that. Olivia says connected because they have no soul. Yeah, I think you're getting a little closer. Either having no soul or maybe a presence of something else, something dark and sinister that they have in common. Thank you, Daisy. I did. I hope you did. What's up, Robin? Shout out to Indiana. Uh, Chorizo and eggs seriously crossed my mind. They have a lot in common. Happy Face was convicted of 8 mainly sex workers or transients, but confessed to like 160 murders. Deborah Lovelace, greetings from Tejas. Shout out to the Lone Star. Holding down the Republic. Thank you guys. Stay strong. Anna, good to see you. When Carrie Rawson, BTK's daughter, spoke out about LISK, her dad surfaced. Well, I don't know. Her dad kind of surfaced with Koberger, in my opinion. Jesperson's daughter helped Asa Heuerman, and now he surfaces. They don't want to lose public attention. I don't know what it is. It's like a way of flexing their celebrity prowess. You know, they know that these serial killers kind of look up to them. They've already defined their badge of honor, so to speak. Ted Bundy and Gary Ridgway always intrigued me. That strange relationship, and I believe the movie Silence of the Lambs was loosely based on a lot of that. What's up, Brad? From outside of the grid, another YouTube creator who is a friend of the Sleuth Intuition channel. I don't know. We might change the name from Sleuth Intuition to Sleuth Crew. Run that by the members and see what you think. Daisy says they are bonding, and she's disgusted by it. It is a little disgusting. It's a little troubling, but I think there's something to learn from it. You know, something drives these folks. Something drives these individuals to become serial killers. Now, whatever it is that's driving them is something that they know right off the get-go that they have in common. So Rex Heuerman, he doesn't need to, it's almost like he's admitting guilt by reaching out to Keith. And another thing that's troubling, and I hope that Keith's daughter, who we'll talk about a little bit later in the live stream, finds this offensive. But Rex seems to thank Keith and what his daughter is doing, almost as if it was both of them together. Well, if he's assuming that it's both of them together, to me, that's almost implicating his wife that she was somehow part of all of this. If it's his assumption that his daughter is taking steps on his behalf, which I don't think she is. I think she truly thinks that Rex's estranged wife is basically one of those I guess a different kind of a victim, you know what I mean? A victim that she can relate to. But I'm not sure Rex Heuerman is looking at things the same way after reading the letter. And we're going to read the letter at the very end of the live stream. I think before we're going to do a quick overview. Might start with Rex Heuerman. Chorizo and eggs. They hate women. That's one thing they have in common. Control freaks, fear seekers. Sandra Ficus, their celebrity creepiness and insanity. They definitely share that. Birds of a feather. Yeah. Freaks of nature is a good way to put it. I mean, that's kind of how I look at these psychopaths. And I know that there's some people who say, "Hey, well, I'm a psychopath and I'm a contributing member of society." Yeah, are you? Or have you just not been caught? And when will you strike? What's up, Stony? Welcome. What do you guys have to say about this? I mean, Keith Jesperson, he's like a renowned, well known, enigmatic character. Cold blooded killer. Now you have Rex Heuerman almost creating a line of communication, like he's ready to seek counsel. Like, guide me, Jedi. Like, really, dude? It's a little strange. And I do think that it's possible that Koberger and the BTK may have communicated prior to the Idaho 4 assault there. I know there has been a little bit of talk of that. No verification from my end, at least. Good to see you, Amy. Chorizo and eggs. I read that Face's nickname was Igor and Rex's was Ogre, given by family members. Interesting. Yeah, they're both unusually tall. It's weird. You got some folks that find confidence in being tall, and then others who feel like they're a victim. Julia, my mom was approached by Ted Bundy at Lake Sammamish, where I grew up. It was super crowded that day, but she knew something was off because she saw him using his arm with the sling or whatever functionally. Yeah, that's a big part of what they used for the Buffalo Bill character. You remember in the movie Silence of the Lambs, where he's like trying to put a big, looks like a chair in the back of a van, and he's got his arm in a sling or in a cast. Yeah, so they took that from Ted Bundy. That movie's basically about his interest in Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer. That's a whole nother story in itself, right there. We've covered it a few times, but man, talk about a strange story right there. That's why you have Hannibal Lecter. He's like, I'll give you a psychological profile on Buffalo Bill. That's basically Ted Bundy offering that up to the FBI. A woman named Pavlinak. Yeah, we're going to talk about the false confession. Laverne Pavlinak and her boyfriend. This is her right here. We're jumping the gun a little bit, but that's her right there. Pavlinak. This is from people.com. But we'll learn about her. Crazy. A false confession. She was like upset with her, I think it was her fiance, live-in partner. Well, her fiance, I guess. And he had been mentally abusive, and she was at some kind, she was at a breaking point basically. And I mean, she must have been completely out of her mind. But in order to hurt him, she was willing to confess to a murder that she did not commit. And this murder was actually committed by Keith Jesperson. But I think we're going to look at Rex Heuerman first. Hey, devoted to Mariah. You got me feeling emotions higher than I've ever felt. Hey, what's up, Tech Death? Good to see you. Devoted. I'm the queen of those fans. All I can hear is that high pitch. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Man, I grew up with that shit. I knew Mariah when she was like married to some creepy producer. Deborah Lovelace, hot. I'm 6'5" female and love it. She's tall. Sandra, I know about that one. All right. How about, am I missing anybody? Hey, Boston Christian. Devoted's like, oh yeah. Sleuth, devoted is Tom Webster. Laugh out loud. I'm just kidding. That would be funny. Hey, Sparky. Devoted's like, I'm not Tom Webster. All right, let's take a look at who is Rex Heuerman, or who do they think he is? Better yet.
Their nearly 2-week-long search at the house of suspect Rex Heuerman is now over. Heuerman was arrested on July 13th after a decades-long investigation into the killings. You can see him here with investigators. He is the main suspect in 4 murders. He has pleaded not guilty to all charges. Suffolk County District Attorney Ray Tierney says he will now prosecute the case himself. And tonight, we're lucky to be joined by the DA tonight. So, District Attorney, thank you for joining Top Story. I want to start with your decision to personally prosecute this case. Why?
Thanks for having me, Tom. It was primarily came from the fact that, I met the victims while I was campaigning. I told them that we were going to give the case the best chance we could to solve it. And then I just was involved with the case through the grand jury. And, at this point, I participated in the grand jury, and, myself and a handful of assistant district attorneys in the office know the case.
Big conspiracy going on.
You've seen a lot
of
the evidence that has come in. I know you're still gathering some evidence, but as far as what you've seen, what's come across your desk, what's the single biggest piece of evidence that you've come across?
I think it's a combination of a number of things, but the DNA evidence, I think, is, very powerful.
Okay. And then we've been seeing the video, the photos of.
Let's see. Devoted to Mariah says, it's all good fun, laugh out loud for laughs, but I will call in and can add to a conversation. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate that.
Investigators at the Heuerman home there on Long Island, the family home. You've been in the backyard. You've been inside the house. I wanted to see if you could share with us some of the stuff that has been located there or anything that's helped in your investigation.
Well, Tom, we've executed a number of search warrants in the case, including at the residence, and we've gathered a lot of evidence. We're looking for everything from tangible items.
Tech Death says Peacock is doing a documentary with his wife. She got $1 million. Wow. So she's going to have to sit in a studio and answer all these questions, huh?
Of evidence to blood, biologic evidence, DNA. So we really need to just, categorize that evidence and then forensically.
Mustang says, Sleuth, can you tell me the name of that song you were using for your intro? Yeah, it's a copyright-free song. Anybody can use it. And the title is Serial Killer, believe it or not.
Examine it, and it's going to take some time.
There's been a lot of reporting that the victims, unfortunately, in this case, after they were killed, they were dismembered and then put in those burlap sacks. Is it your belief that he did some of these crimes and the chopping up, if you will, of these bodies at his home?
Well, there's no evidence either way to point that the murders were actually committed either in the house or outside the house. I think with regard to the DNA evidence on two of the bodies, there have been hairs recovered that the DNA's profiles are consistent with both the defendant, and two hairs are consistent with his wife.
Yeah, that's a little crazy that his wife's hair is on everything, but I understand if he's grabbing tools and things that he's using in these murders from home. Of course, even just on his person, there's, his wife's hair. My wife's hair is all over me all the time. But still, you think they would investigate more and not just assume. But what's up, Joey? Good to see you.
Does that lead you to believe something happened in the house?
Well, that could be the case, or there's something called transfer DNA, where if you just live with someone, their hair and your hair could get on your person, and then if you contact with a third person, both of those hairs could come in contact with that third person.
There's been some reporting that you guys located a soundproof room inside of that house. Is that correct?
So the defendant had, close to 300 guns, a little under 300 weapons in the house, and he did have a gun safe, which was a room like a block cement room with a metal door. That was reported that it was soundproof. I don't believe it's actually soundproof.
But let me ask you, when you describe a gun safe, people think of gun safes as, maybe something with a wheel or something you open up, but that you don't necessarily walk into. You're talking about a safe so big a human could walk in there?
Yes. And I think that you would need something of that size, given the amount of weapons he had, upwards of 283 guns.
And then would multiple people fit in there? Are we talking about that kind of size where he could walk in there, essentially, theoretically, with a victim's body? Is it that big?
Potentially, but I mean, by the time we got there, the room was cluttered. So again, there's no evidence either way to say.
There have been cadaver dogs at the house.
There's been recent reports by Shannon Gilbert's attorney that Rex Heuerman's wife was present at some of the interactions with some of these working girls. So I don't know what you guys think about that.
house that we've seen. Have the cadaver dogs found anything?
The cadaver dogs have not found anything. There were also dogs that sniff out electronic devices, and they
63 clocks
indicated
reading my
a
mind.
number of electronic devices which were recovered.
They found, were they hidden? Were these electronic devices hidden?
I mean, I think that the house was cluttered, so they were in and amongst the clutter, but they certainly assisted in the recovery of those items.
This is kind of interesting. I've never heard this. The dogs were used to recover electronic devices. I'm going to assume they were cell phones?
Cell phones or smart devices, computers, laptops. The use of dogs, there's currency sniffing dogs, there's electronic device sniffing dogs, and there's cadaver dogs, just to name a few. It depends upon the training of the dog.
I want to put up for our viewers the victims who unfortunately lost their lives in this horrific serial killer case. And there's that fourth victim, right, that we're looking at right here. Maureen Barnes, I want to ask you, do you have evidence? Do you see a pattern? Is there anything you can tie Rex Heuerman to this fourth victim?
So these four women are known as the Gilgo Four, and the manner of their disappearance and their death are very strikingly similar. We started our investigation centering around these four. We took the case down a little early, because we were afraid of the investigation being public, as well as we were concerned we had safety concerns. The investigation with regard to the murder of Maureen Brainerd Barnes is continuing, and once we complete that, we'll have more comments on that.
Have you seen anything that has tied that case into the other three?
I mean, I think there are striking similarities, and we're going to let that investigation play out. And at the end of that, we'll have further comment.
Finally, there was that moment where we saw detectives, investigators arrest Rex Heuerman on the streets of Midtown Manhattan. Can you share with us those moments, what he said, and anything he said since then?
So, he was represented by counsel. So, I'm not privy to those statements, but I can tell you that at that Midtown Manhattan arrest, the defendant certainly did seem surprised.
All right. There's a little info on Rex Heuerman. Yeah, we did a whole live stream about the possibility of his wife knowing and some of the things that Shannon Gilbert's attorney was saying. He seems to be coming from a place where she is completely complicit. I mean, I might have a video on that, actually. Let me see. Bear with me a moment. Yeah, this might be the only thing.
The infamous Gilgo Beach murders.
Tonight, an attorney representing some of the victims coming forward to say he has new evidence that he says links suspect Rex Heuerman to two other victims. Jody Goldberg has the latest.
4 witnesses coming forward, 2 of them giving sworn statements. This new information offers a glimpse into suspected serial killer Rex Heuerman's life.
This is something that's very important to me. I'm going to continue to grind to make sure anybody that had an interaction with our defendant, Rex Heuerman, is held accountable in this case.
There's a pattern of a guy who likes to play kind of sporting games with the sex workers, chases them, haunts them, hunts them, That's what we're looking at.
John Ray, the attorney for some of the victims in the notorious case,
Damn.
stood beside Suffolk's Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison, reading accounts from women who decided to speak out after recognizing Heuerman in handcuffs. One account alleges his then wife Asa Ellerup posted their contact information to engage in swinger sex back in 1996, saying she knew what was going on.
He was a serial user of sex workers. He would sometimes have them come 2 at a time to his house, and his wife was home upstairs, and in one instance got very angry at one of the sex workers because the wife believed that the worker had stolen an iron.
That same witness recognized Karen Vergata's picture. She was a sex worker and the first known victim. She remembers bringing her to Heuerman's home. Ray also spoke to a taxi driver who claims she saw Shannon Gilbert with Heuerman in a motel back in 2009.
The driver
sounds good,
knows her
Vertigo.
well and
Vertigo.
notices that she has a drooping eye, and it helps her to remember Shannon when she sees her later on.
Ray says the witnesses came forward to help advance the case. He says his phone lines are open for anyone who wants to talk and doesn't want to go to police. But the district attorney's office says it'll be investigated through the grand jury, and private attorneys aren't part of the task force. Now, Heuerman is due back in court on November 15th. We reached out to his attorney, who has no comment. Jody Goldberg, Fox 5 News.
A little info on it. There's actually been some new information about the Happy Face Killer, and we'll look at that as well. Here's a sex worker who had contact with Rex Heuerman.
Close call that I almost don't even know if I can carry on in my industry.
The woman says that's because when the name Rex Heuerman came out, she ran his information through her phone.
One of the phone numbers was saved as do not answer from 2020.
So crazy. Imagine finding out that you've been in contact with somebody who's responsible for this, for these types of crimes. Okay, so that was a little bit about Rex Heuerman, but I think a lot of you might be more familiar with him. Let's take a look at Keith Hunter Jesperson. All right. Keith Hunter Jesperson is a Canadian-American serial killer who murdered at least 8 women in the United States during the early 1990s. He was known as the Happy Face Killer because he drew smiley faces on many letters to the media and authorities. Here's an early photo of Keith. Looks pretty normal to me. Yeah, Joey, there's a lot going on with that case. Some sketches, I believe. I wish I knew more about it. I'll do a follow-up on that. Anna says, if Rex Heuerman was involved with Shannon Gilbert, when she disappeared, I wonder if her last client did something that reminded her of what Rex Heuerman wanted to do. Yeah, and I have a feeling it could be a group of men sworn to secrecy. Here's some of Keith's writing. If you would like to write me, my address is Keith H. Jesperson, P.O. Box 1147, Vancouver. And look, he has the 666 underlined here. Like, what the fuck is that? Any help I get will be greatly appreciated. Thank you for your time. Have a nice day from Happy Face. Sick son of a bitch. Dude has no sympathy, and I'll prove it to you here in a second. Another serial killer trucker. We did a live stream about how many bodies are found along the highways, and the FBI is basically coming out saying we believe most of the serial killers in the United States are truckers. That's crazy. A lot of lost and helpless people wandering the United States looking for a ride, you know? And unfortunately, there's probably a lot of great truckers out there, but 1 out of 10. False confessions, guys, they happen. They do happen. Let's see. I did pull an article here on Laverne Pavlinac. I think now is a good time to go take a look at her. It's from people.com by Kyler Alvord, published November 5th, 2021. In 1990, Laverne Pavlinac had reached her breaking point. Feeling stuck in an abusive relationship with a boyfriend nearly 20 years her junior, 57-year-old woman from Portland, Oregon decided she'd go to extreme lengths to escape his orbit. When Pavlinac heard that a young woman named Tanya Bennett had been strangled to death in her hometown, she saw the unsolved murder as an opportunity to put her boyfriend, John Sosnowski, behind bars. So she framed him for Bennett's murder. First, Pavlinac anonymously called investigators claiming that she overheard Sosnowski at a bar bragging about killing the 23-year-old. Then she said she knew Sosnowski was guilty because she was there when he raped and killed her, thus implicating herself in the false narrative. Pavlinac's elaborate lies about the murder were enough to convince a jury that both she and Sosnowski deserved to be imprisoned for Bennett's death. With Bennett's believed killers behind bars, investigators put her murder investigation to rest. unaware that the real culprit was running free, continuing to kill. In 1995, Keith Hunter Jesperson, more widely known by his nickname, the Happy Face Killer, turned himself in and confessed to several murders across 5 states. His first victim, he said, was Bennett. Here's a quote. The greatest human tragedy is that Laverne Pavlinac derailed the investigation in 1990, and in 4 years, Keith Jesperson killed more women. Jim McIntyre, the Oregon prosecutor who handled the cases, tells ABC News. The 2-hour episode features conversations with several officials and family members close to the case, including interviews with Pavlinac's daughter, Bennett's sister, and Jesperson's daughter, and archive footage of Nightline anchor Juju Chang speaking with Jesperson. Crazy. So you don't know why false confessions exist. We just know that they exist. You know, it's almost like, why did this person commit these murders? They were motivated for whatever reason. We don't know until we can sit down and talk with them. Shout out to 63 Clocks. $10 super chat and sponsoring today's live stream. Thank you. Says great channel, sleuth crew, top notch. Thank you for all your work. Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, false confessions. People are like, well, why do you got to keep all this information private and away from the public? Because there's false confessions. That's why. How about that? Yeah, here's Anna following up on what I just said. Pavlinac is a good example of why police keep so much information from the public. She learned enough from the media to get herself and boyfriend convicted, and Jesperson started his serial killing spree. Yeah, so she doesn't even realize she kind of contributed to some of his murders. Yeah, it's just horrible, but it does happen. You can't explain it. Okay, now let's see where they start to kind of mix the two families. I think it starts here. Let me see. Well, actually, I think we can go here. This is some recent
Person
news.
known as the Happy Face Killer confessed to killing 8 women across the country, including one in Okaloosa County.
And now, after this time, investigators are finally able to identify one of his victims. Dacian Smith with that story.
Investigators say Keith Jesperson was responsible for the deaths of 8 women in 6 different states in the early 90s. The Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office says he got the name Happy Face Killer after he started sending the media letters about the murders and signing them with a happy face.
The first murder he committed in Oregon, some random lady just said she killed the female along with her abusive boyfriend, which was not true. And he got upset by this, so he started sending media letters describing it, and he got no attention with that, or not enough, so he sent it to authorities.
Investigators say one of those women, now identified as Suzanne
That's
Schellenberg,
crazy.
was killed in 1994. Sheriff Eric Aiden says Jesperson originally admitted to killing a woman in the area in 1996. Last month, investigators with OCSO, FDLE, and the state attorney's office went to the Oregon State Penitentiary to speak with Jesperson and learned the two met at a truck stop in Tampa while he was working as a long-haul trucker.
The moment she sat in the truck, she looked at all the room in the truck and said, "Hey, can we go back to Miami so I can pick up the rest of my stuff to Cairo before midnight.
This body camera video.
We're going to watch this entire video. I was able to find it. They don't play it all, but it's about 8 minutes, and we have it. We'll watch it here in a minute.
Video shows some of that interview. Jesperson says the two made it to a truck stop in Northwest Florida before Schellenberg started screaming when he sat by her.
The more I told her to shut up, the more she screamed. Okay. And I don't need that because I wasn't supposed to have people in my truck anyway, so none unauthorized and all that, so I just killed her. Okay. You got to consider after murdering too many people, that it was just an easy thing to do. I took 2 plastic ties that I had and put around her neck.
Investigators say Jesperson dumped her body in a tree line near I-10 in Hope, where it was discovered by an inmate work crew in 1994, but couldn't be identified until March of this year with help from Ortham Inc.
We have a team of nearly a dozen forensic genetic genealogists on staff who work through publicly available databases to search to find relatives.
Investigators say it was surreal hearing about the murder firsthand, but they felt relieved when things started coming together and they were able to notify the family.
That weight of working the investigation is very, very heavy. It almost, that weight starts to lift and provide those answers to create that closure.
To be able to give that family closure before they passed away, they're still alive and they're able to get that closure, it means the world to me personally.
Jason Smith, Fox 10 News.
Well, as Jason
Yeah, the whole false confession thing is very strange, but it does happen. Maybe some people who want the fame but aren't willing to go through with the act. Okay, let's see here. So let's talk about how they start to cross here. Happy Face Killer's daughter, I think, begins to reach out to the Gilgo Beach suspects, Rex Heuerman's estranged wife. I think this would be an okay place to start. That's her. That's Keith, the Happy Face Killer's daughter. Looks like this is in quotes. I think there's a common misconception with serial killers that they're either these white males that drive a white van or there's some kind of Silence of the Lambs character. That's kind of silly. We were just talking about Silence of the Lambs. And some kind of cunning geniuses who can trick and evade law enforcement. But that's not what I have encountered in my decades-long career working with family members of serial killers. Serial killers, to me, are cookie cutters of each other. So when this case came out, I felt like I had a really good grasp of who Rex was immediately as a suspect. He was the life of the party. So he was really friendly and outgoing, but he was also described the same way Rex has been by some people, which is he was creepy and weird, she said. That's because he didn't have any social graces. He couldn't read the room, and that was due to his narcissism that left him without a filter. So he would say very provocative and sexually explicit things to women and just make them feel uneasy. And so there's that aspect, but also he just didn't have social graces in any way. And so he'd give off creepy vibes to certain people. He was just a weird guy and complicated person. It wasn't only after he was arrested that I realized things that my family and I had dismissed as odd quirks were the telltale signs of a serial killer. I'm sure something similar will happen with Rex's family if he did do this. The reason I didn't know is because he and other people like him are so skilled at leading a double life. He wasn't coming home and telling his wife he killed these women. It's not his best interest to do that because it would be over. The facade would be over. His cover up would be over. The only way he doesn't get caught is by keeping them in the dark. His family was a tool for him. There's still a resource for him that he's going to try to use to protect himself, she continued. With Rex as a suspect and my father as a convicted serial killer, I came to learn that our family was a facade that helped him go under the radar for so long, like camouflage. My father and people like him use their families as a mask for their insanity. And after they're caught, serial killers try to keep their families close because they need the family. They need their support for optics and to continue controlling their assets and controlling their story. That's so true because you had Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer. He would show pictures of his family to his victims, kind of nonchalantly while kind of showing his ID. There would be a family photo and it would lower their defenses. The best thing his wife and kids can do is cut all contact and never look back. It will be hard, but serial killers are so good at emotional manipulation. They have you do their bidding for them. I'm so scared for Rex's family because if they maintain contact, he maintains his control. If they stop, they can truly start to put the pieces of their life back together and reconcile with this false reality they've been living with for decades. She continued, thinking back to all the families of serial killers that I've talked to, the most successful families that are able to move on and truly have a chance in life again are the ones that cut contact. That would 100% be my recommendation. Makes me think of the Delphi case a little bit. Seems to so unbothered describing him. Yeah, he has no qualms at all. Not at all.
Faces that have come to represent pure evil. On the left is the happy face killer convicted of murdering at least 8 women and leaving smiley face drawings at the crime scenes. The other is the accused Gilgo Beach serial killer. Now their 2 families have made a connection, sharing a very unique bond.
Comfort for the embattled family of the accused Gilgo Beach killer from a woman who knows firsthand what they're going through.
I'm the daughter of the happy face killer.
Melissa Moore's father is Keith Jesperson, the notorious happy face killer, so called because of the smiley face he drew on taunting letters to cops. He murdered 8 women in the 1990s. After architect Rex Heuerman was charged with murdering 3 women, Melissa Moore's sense of compassion led her to set up a GoFundMe page for the Heuerman family. Now that's led to an extraordinary encounter, a get-together at the family's home on Long Island.
I just embraced her and gave her a hug, stroked her hair and said, it's all going to be okay.
Moore tells Allison Hall she also met Rex Heuerman's 2 grown children.
You went in the home and then you sat on the porch with the 3 of them?
Yeah, it was very relaxing in the sense that there's no reporters. The one thing that I'm very proud of, though, is that I was able to offer some relief in this hellish circumstance.
What advice did you give them when you met with them?
I have lots of advice, but the one thing that I would hope for them is that they would leave the home and not attend the trial. I'm actually really impressed with how the family is coping under the circumstances. They're dissecting their lives. I mean, who wouldn't be dissecting their life when you find out that your husband's accused of serial murder?
Although authorities say the wife and children were ignorant of the crimes Heuerman's charged with, the lawyer who represents some Gilgo Beach victims isn't convinced.
She should be considered a suspect and not just a bystander or someone who's been victimized by a husband.
There are some people who think she must have known. What do you think about that?
Well, I wouldn't put my name on a GoFundMe if I believe she was complicit in any way. The biggest thing that I think is the cause of suffering for family members of serial killers or perpetrators is that question, how did you not know, or did you know?
Melissa Moore, the Happy Face Killer's daughter, is co-hosting a new true crime podcast called Lipstick and Lies, currently streaming on iHeartRadio.
All right. Let me see. I think I have. Okay. So let's go ahead and listen to the Happy Face serial killer, where he discusses finally admitting to this last murder and mentions Rex Heuerman and his the fact that they're pen pals. He kind of brags about it. We'll watch that, and then we'll pull up the letter. We'll read it. Some of it's not that legible, so hopefully you guys can help me with it. So we'll watch this interview with Keith Jesperson, and then we'll take a look at the letter. We'll kind of hang out for a little bit, and then we'll get out of here.
Since you mentioned that about wanting to settle it, I'm with the state attorney's office, like I said, and I have a proffer agreement that says we won't seek the death penalty with me today. So if you want to take a second and read it, it basically, I can't give you any legal advice because I represent the state, but I can tell you that participation in this proffer doesn't guarantee that we won't prosecute, but it does guarantee that the state of Florida will not file a notice of intent to seek death penalty in any proceeding.
Well, that's fine.
So
I'll sign it. I don't have to read it. Like I try to explain to other killers that are regional are arrested, and I write to them, I tell them how the system works. I said the system is, when you're dealing with serial crimes, there's a difference than with a single murder. That you're opening yourself up for litigation all the way across the board, and you don't have no say in the matter. It just continues and continues and continues. So I always try to tell people to own it. Just admit you're caught. The only way you're caught, if you're arrested, means that the prosecutor has enough evidence to take you to court and prove you guilty. They wouldn't have arrested him if they didn't, right? Yeah. So I've recently got a letter from Rex Heuerman from the Long Island serial killer, and I had told him the same thing, and he wrote me back so long ago, taking under advisement. So when I picked her up, she was headed to Lake Tahoe, Nevada.
Yeah, do you know, did she have ties there? Did she say anything about that?
All I know is that's what she said she was headed. And I told her, I said, I'm not going to Nevada. However, I don't even know where I'm headed. I've got to pick up a load, and I don't even know what load I was going to pick up. But when I do, I'm headed to Washington State. So I'll be in the area. I could take you so far. And she was outstanding out there at the truck stop. And I parked in her next to the restaurant, and I just walked out to her, and I said, where are you headed? And she said, I said, oh, well, I pointed to my truck, and I said, well, there I am. I may be going to Washington State because I'm out of Washington State, and I head that way. I don't know where exactly I'm headed, but probably in an hour. In an hour or so, I'll probably be headed that way. So I just walked off, left, and I went in the truck stop and waited for my boss to give me a load going somewhere. And then within, well, probably an hour, a little after that, she got impatient, walked into the truck stop where I was sitting and said, I thought we were going to be leaving in an hour. And I thought, excuse me.
Thanks, Sparky.
Have a nice tea, sit down and relax. This is trucking. We have to wait. And finally, I got a load going to Cairo, Georgia. I had to pick up a load of conduit. And I had a 2-dropper, one in Boise and one in Spokane. And I said, well, I got to get going. And so I packed up her stuff in there, and it had a bunch of blue Samsonite-like luggage. A bunch of it with a luggage tote that she dragged behind her. And I put that in. The moment she sat in the truck, she looked at all the room in the truck and said, hey, can we go back to Miami so I can pick up the rest of my stuff? I said, no, I've got to get to Cairo before midnight Eastern time to get this load on. So we got to head north. So we headed up, and we got up to Unical 76 truck stop about 80 miles north. And I fueled up there, went in, and I got a shower for her and myself. We didn't shower the same shower. We showered separately. I told her meet me in the restaurant and we'll have something to eat before we head north. And so she sits down and she ordered all you can eat spaghetti, and she was on her second plate. And she wanted, and she tried to offer me some of her spaghetti. I said, no, get the hell out of here. Let's go north. And she sat over here. I was driving, so I didn't see much of her. We got up to Cairo. I backed in, got loaded, and I went looking for her. I didn't know where the hell she took off to. So I went into the driver's lounge, and she looked like she was on the phone.
Okay.
Or, like on a payphone. And I mentioned Suzanne, or whatever her name is. I said something. The moment I mentioned, she let out a blood-curdling scream, like she just caught her right, just panic. And shut up, man. We need to get going, right? So she gets in the truck. We take off. Now I backtrack about, 20 miles maybe, and drop down into Florida.
Okay.
So we get on Interstate 10.
Yes, sir.
And we're heading west on Interstate 10, and at exit 18 is the rest area. And you pull down off the exit, you go underneath the overpass, and you come to a frontage road. You go past some convenience stores, and the rest here is back in here. And I park in right behind the security. Florida always has security trucks for people in there. Mm-hmm. So they watch over for panhandling and all that kind of stuff. Right. They really monitor it. I parked right behind the security guy, and I sat up, and once I got stopped, and I sat on the edge of the bed, and I wanted to know whether she wanted to use the restroom, so that's what I was going to do. And then she started screaming. She just sat up and started screaming. And I was like, shut up. The more I told her to shut up, the more she screamed. Okay. And I don't need that because I wasn't supposed to have people in my truck anyway, unauthorized and all that. So I just killed her. Okay. You got to consider after murdering too many people, that it was just an easy thing to do. And I was fearful because she ate all that spaghetti and stuff that she would, when I moved her, that maybe it'd come up. I wasn't quite sure, but I took two
He's worried about
plastic
the spaghetti
ties that I had and put around her neck and secured it. Figured that when I moved her, that nothing would come out. And that's why I did that. And then I had to get out and ask the security guy to move so I could get out of the rest area. When she moved out of the way, he was driving a red small pickup with a canopy on it. Okay. And I moved out of the way. I pulled on out. I went down to exit 11, and it's a university exit, I believe. I think that was on one of the signs. Okay. I pulled down and crossed the road and came up on the other side and pulled up as far as the wide shoulder was, parked, and I walked over to, which would be the north side, walked to the north. And there's a tree row there, and then on the other side of the tree row was a fence. And I knew, so I figured I'd put her in the tree row. And I carried over and put.
Crazy. He just talks about it like it's nothing. She was screaming and he had killed so many people, so it was nothing for him. Yeah, that is one of his victims. It's a horrible case. Yeah, they like to blame their victims. They find a reason why it's their fault, 100%. Hey, Melissa. Yep, one of the worst. Okay, so the way I read this letter is almost as if Keith had sent him a letter first. Is that right, guys? Am I reading this right? Thank you for your letters, right? So obviously this is a response. And if you have the letters from Keith, I would like to see them. I wasn't unable to find them. So this is more of a response. Or it is a response. So I had a little bit of trouble reading this, but I think I kind of figured it out. His double T's are weird. You guys see that? What the hell is that? August 31st, 2023. Yeah, and I believe Keith contacted Rex first. I think he may have made that a habit of reaching out to these folks, and I just find it very strange that Rex was all too happy to respond. You know, becoming pen pals with this guy. To me, it's kind of like it tells me that Rex is guilty, that he's stepping into those shoes. Yeah, very loopy. All right, let's start here. Keith, like, what the hell? Like he's crossing the T with his H. That's like some premeditated shit right there. I'm like, what the hell? Okay, you know that there's a T here, and instead of crossing it, you're going to take your H and you're going to cross your T with the H. Very strange. Like, what is that? First, he says here, Keith, first off, I would like to say thank you for your letters and advice. They have been a help and comfort to me. I do understand what you have said and taken it to heart. Being only a month and a half in, see, I don't know what this is here. Month and a half in, this, as you know, I have handled wait. See, I have trouble here. You know, I have had okay. You know, I have had a lot to think about. Right about, I need to get a few things in order, which the lawyers are working on. You were right about letters. I have gotten a number of them asking for interviews to be friends, pen pals, and by who sent me 3 letters asking me to write back to add to his collection of letters. That's weird. Exactly, Sparky. That's so strange. Like, man, it's like hard to wrap your head around. And then he says here, look at this. Trying to honor him, it seems. You are the only person who I have written back to and plan to write to. I know I have gone in its great detail. I am not sure if my mail is not being read. I did have my office's mail a comment. It's me that he knew you were writing to me. So somebody from his office was aware that they were communicating. Nope, not one bit, Sparky. Real sees the real. Oh, is that what it was? Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, some guy sent me 3 letters. He's worried about getting played. Okay. It says here, so it sounds like OSB is not such a bad place. So that it must be OSP, the prison he's in. Is not such a bad place to be. Do you have butter for your bread? How is the day? Man, that is so weird. Look at that. What the hell is that? How is the day? Day food. I will admit the food at SC. Yeah, see, I struggle with it. Is not much to look forward to each day. Also, Yard is just walking in circles outside. I do understand what you have told me. Also, that timing is important with this process. I am working out the timing. Next court date is 9/27, as I understand it, that it is just a conference court date. So I do not expect much to happen. I have not even seen the discovery yet at this point. I am sorry it took so long to write back to you. I know I should have done it sooner. The main thing I wanted to say was thank you to you and yours for the letters and what has been done for mine. Thank you, Rex. So it's almost as if he's thanking his daughter for those things that we covered earlier. You know, like, thank you for having your daughter do those things. I appreciate it. But I don't think his daughter would really appreciate that. I don't think that's why she did it. I think she thinks that Rex's estranged wife is completely ignorant to all of it. But by what Rex Heuermann is saying, it's almost as if he's saying, thank you for helping my family who is complicit, because with your family that is obviously complicit. So I don't think that Keith's daughter would agree with that. That's not the impression I got from her. What do you guys think? Day-to-day food. Okay, thank you. Deborah Lovelace, interesting handwriting, striving for individuality and grandiosity. Yeah. Is that what that is? Very strange. All right, guys. Well, that's it. That's all I had for you today. I just wanted to kind of give you guys an overview of both of these cases, Keith and Rex, and then kind of go over this letter. But that is all the time I have. If you could, please hit the like button on the way out. Thank you guys for catching the live stream. If you are not subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. And if you are subscribed, please consider becoming a member. And we do have a delayed members meeting only because we were hanging out with the drunk turkey show. Typically when we would be having our members meeting. So we'll be doing the members meeting over the weekend. Thank you, Olivia. Shout out to 63 Clocks for sponsoring today's live stream. Thank you for that. That means a lot. Thank you, Joey. Chorizo. Jari, good night, everyone. Thanks for coming. Hit the like button. Yeah, if you guys could please hit that like button. Thank you, Hugh. Appreciate you. You got it, Sparky. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I really appreciate you hanging out with me. Be safe on this Friday night. Have a very safe weekend, and I'm going to see you members over the weekend. I'll let you know what I get worked out. But thanks for hanging out, guys. I'll see you soon. Peace.